Today I'm making and ranking 4 different types of fusion sushi so that you don't have to. Unless you want to, in which case, suit yourself. Fusion sushi, or fushi as it's more commonly known by, well, probably no one but me, takes the concept and structure of sushi and introduces flavor elements from other world cuisines. I'm going to be taking inspiration from all around the world, so if you happen to be one of the many food cultures that I'm about to offend, please let me know in the comments down below. Let's get adventurous. First stop on our round the world sushi trip is the UK, with a sushi roll inspired by the classic British beef Wellington. To start this recipe, I'm making a mushroom duxelle, which is basically a seasoned paste made from mushrooms. So I'm taking some regular button mushrooms and slicing them, and then continuing to chop them into very small pieces. Melt a generous knob of butter in a hot pan, and when it's melted and foaming, add the mushrooms, followed by a pinch of salt. I'm adding a sprig of fresh thyme to infuse some aroma. Traditionally, you would add a splash of dry sherry to this, but I usually don't have sherry on hand, so I'm using a splash of Chinese cooking wine instead. Continue to saute until almost all the moisture has evaporated, then remove the thyme, maybe add a crack of black pepper, and that's our mushroom duxelle. Next, we'll prepare the rice. Half a cup is a generous amount for one roll, and we're going to wash the rice really well until the rinsing water runs clear. This is an important step to stop the rice from being too claggy once it's cooked. I'm then cooking the rice according to the instructions on the packet, which in my case say the water to add should be 1.5 times the quantity of rice, covering that and putting it over a medium heat. As soon as it starts to boil, turning it down to very low for 15 minutes, then turning off the heat and leaving it off the heat uncovered for a further 10 minutes. I'm then seasoning the rice with about a teaspoon of sushi vinegar, fluffing it up a little bit and allowing it to cool. And now to assemble my British beef Wellington sushi roll. Take a sheet of nori and put it shiny side down on a work surface, and then spoon over the rice, leaving a small gap at the far end. Thoroughly wet your hands to stop the rice from sticking, and then use your hands to evenly spread the rice over the whole surface. Now, as is traditional with a beef Wellington, we'll layer in some classic British flavours. Starting with a layer of English mustard, which I'm evenly spreading over the whole surface of the rice. This hot mustard can be pretty potent, so I'm only adding a thin layer. And the next layer will be our mushroom duxelle, placing that on top of the mustard and spreading it out over the surface. And then onto the beef, and for this I'm simply using some cold cuts of roast beef from the deli section of my supermarket. I'm placing a generous amount of the beef about 1/3 of the way down the roll, then very carefully rolling that up, trying to keep it as tight as I can, and sticking the end closed with a little bit of water. And that is my interpretation of a British beef Wellington sushi roll. Let's have a look at the cross section. Cool, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see how it tastes. A little dip of soy sauce and... Whoa, cool blimey, that's right British, innit governor? If you're thinking this is a bit of alright, do us a solid and hit that subscribe button below. Sorry, I'm not sure what came over me. The mushroom and the beef do go really well together. There's a hint of English mustard, and overall, it's not bad, but I have to say, I had high hopes for this and I'm a little disappointed. If I had my time again, I think this would be great with a little bit more mustard, and the mushrooms definitely need more seasoning, more salt and more pepper. The cold cut roast beef is a little bit bland as well. Something with a stronger beefy flavour might be better. Maybe some pulled brisket. I think there's a lot of great potential with this idea, but as I've prepared it today, it's just okay. I'm putting this in the C tier. It's okay, it could be great with some improvements, but as it stands, it's a bit meh. Now we're leaving Britain, and next stop, India, for a chicken tikka sushi roll. So I'm starting off with a chicken tikka marinade, which starts with some plain yogurt, to which I'm grating in some ginger and some garlic. Then in with a shake of ground cumin, cayenne pepper, turmeric and smoked paprika. Chicken tikka often has a red food colouring added. I don't have any, so to up the red colour, I'm adding a couple of teaspoons of liquid from a jar of pickled beetroot. Then a generous pinch of salt, mixing that together and adding some diced chicken thighs. And while that marinades, I'm making some raita, which is as simple as taking some grated cucumber, adding some plain yogurt and a pinch of garam masala and salt. This will often have some coriander or mint leaves added. I don't have either of those, so as a bit of an experiment, I'm adding some dried fenugreek leaves. A squeeze of lemon to give it a little extra tang, then mix together and it's ready to go. I've let the chicken marinate for a couple of hours, and now I'm placing a wire rack over a lined baking sheet and putting my chicken on top. This is then going under the broiler or grill under a high heat until it's cooked. Again, the rice I'm cooking as per the packet instructions, but this time around for an Indian twist, I'm adding some whole cumin seeds, some black mustard seeds, and a pinch of turmeric prior to cooking. Once cooked, I'm seasoning that with some sushi vinegar, and that is some interesting looking sushi rice, but it smells wonderfully fragrant. For an extra kick of flavour, I'm preparing another 2 ingredients, some sliced green chilli and some finely diced red onion, both really common garnishes in Indian cooking. And now to assemble. Spiced, seasoned rice going down onto the nori sheet, spreading out a layer of that fresh, tangy raita about a third of the way down, placing down the spicy, charred chicken tikka on top of that, and then a generous sprinkle of the aromatic red onions and the fresh, spicy, sliced green chilli. Then we roll that up nice and tight, and that is an interesting looking cross section. And now the taste test and the verdict. Oh god, I'm clumsy with chopsticks. Hold it together, you're trying to look professional. Interesting, but good, really good. The rice is wonderfully fragrant. The chicken is spicy and succulent. The onion adds a pungency that really rounds out the flavour, and the green chilli adds a beautiful fresh kick of heat. And everything is cooled down and smoothed out by that cucumber raita. He's a cucumber raita. Cucumber raita. If I had one criticism, it's probably that it's still a little bit underseasoned. It really does need a little dip in some salty soy sauce to really bring out the flavors. Overall, this is pretty solid. I'm putting it in the B tier. For the next sushi roll, I'm taking some inspiration from Italian cuisine, and I'm starting by adding a generous amount of Italian herbs to the rice, then cooking that like normal and seasoning with the sushi vinegar. And next, in keeping with the Italian theme, I'm spreading out a layer of Italian tomato sauce, and then to complement that, I'm shingling on a layer of fresh aromatic basil leaves. Then over the top of that, to add some savory meaty flavors and a little bit of spice, I'm laying down some thinly sliced hot suppressor salami. And last but not least, right in the middle, I'm adding some fresh mozzarella. Then we'll roll that up as tight as possible, and another really interesting looking sushi roll. Just waiting a second for the flavors to come out. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That is absolutely cracking. Subtle Italian herbs in the background, the classic combination of tomato and fresh basil, a subtle creamy milkiness from the mozzarella, and a spicy, meaty, slightly salty kick from the suppressor. Absolutely brilliant. Of the 3 that I've tried so far, this is definitely the first one I'm making again. That is excellent. Maybe not mind-blowing, but excellent. That is a solid A, making this roll the clear leader so far. Next up, the good old USA, and there's a number of different ways that I could have taken this, but to round things out, I've decided to go with a dessert option. The classic American peanut butter and jelly. So to sweeten things up, this time around, to my rice, I'm adding about a tablespoon of sugar. I mean, if you wanted to be really American, you could use high fructose corn syrup, but sugar's what I have on hand, so I'm going with that. And to add another layer of flavour, I'm adding some vanilla extract. Now, no nori sheet this time around. I thought the combination of peanut butter, jelly and seaweed might have been a bridge too far. So to make this easier to roll without a nori sheet, I'm laying down some plastic wrap and spreading my rice out on top of that. And then I'm laying down a fairly generous strip of crunchy peanut butter. And next to that, another strip, but this time raspberry jelly. And this is where things started to go wrong the first time around. This was extremely difficult to roll because the peanut butter and jelly are so soft and squidgy. I gave it a good crack, but try as I might, it ended up a bit of a mess. So, take 2. And here I have what is basically that same strip of peanut butter and jelly, except this time around, frozen solid. This will allow me to apply a lot more pressure and get a nice tight roll. I'm even using a sushi mat to get it as tight as possible. And then to add another layer of flavour and texture, and also to stop the roll from sticking to everything, I'm coating the outside in sesame seeds. Okay, that looks like it's turned out pretty well. I don't think I've ever had dessert sushi before, so let's see how it goes, I guess. Oh, okay. That's pretty good, I guess. I mean, it's really just a vehicle for peanut butter and jelly, so you can't go too far wrong. Even Mrs. Adventures in Snacking is curious about this one. The sweet vanilla rice is quite good, it's very reminiscent of rice pudding. The sesame seeds are subtle, and the peanut butter and jelly, well, they're peanut butter and jelly. Pretty darn good. Not spectacular, I'm sure there's a few things that could be tweaked to make this even better, so I think that this roll sits in the B tier. Now, there must be a million ways that I can mash up sushi with other world cuisines. So if you've got some fusion sushi or fushi ideas, please let me know in the comments. And next up, why not check out this video for some other kitchen experiments? And until next time, happy snacking.